Welcome to The Awakened Heart, a podcast for healing women, a place where your voice matters, your body is sacred, and your journey home to yourself is honored, no matter how winding the road. I'm Autumn Moran, and welcome back. If you are a return listener, all the welcomes in the world, all the fanfare, thanks for being here. And if you're new here, if this is your first episode, welcome. This is a bonus episode. Wednesday's episodes are topical, maybe part of a series, and Friday's episode is either something random that's really came up this week or something that goes along with the series information that supports Wednesday's episode. So today is bonus episode. And I'll get into that in a minute. Just let me do I'm going to do my little commercial first. I'm a licensed professional counselor in Texas. I provide trauma-informed therapy for clients in my private practice, specializing in work with neurodivergent women and trauma survivors. For women outside of Texas or those looking for additional support alongside their current therapy, I offer life coaching programs that include somatic healing coaching and an unmasking journey for late diagnosed neurodivergent women. My somatic coaching is designed as a complement to talk therapy. It helps you bridge the gap between cognitive understanding and embodied healing through nervous system work, body movement, breath work, and some other tools. Whether you're working through trauma, discovering your authentic self after years of masking, or maybe both, my goal is to help you not just understand your story, but to feel genuinely safe and at home in your own body. New episodes drop every Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to subscribe, like, thumbs up, whatever works for you, so you never miss one. And if today's episode resonates with you, please put a like, a heart, a thumbs up. I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with someone who you think might benefit from hearing it, or just leave a comment. Lets me know that what I'm doing is working or is helping, and it also helps other women find this space and know they're not alone in their healing. If you're new, if you've been following me, I'm not on social media. It's something I don't have capacity for. So this is word of mouth growth or just finding me in a search engine. So if you like what you hear and want to support me, please share, like, thumbs up, leave an emoji, something to help me just get caught up in the searches so that more women like us can find this platform and not feel so alone. All right, so this bonus episode pairs with the late diagnosis series, and today I'm going to talk about something that comes up quite often, trauma responses that you think are your personality. Because you develop trauma responses to survive, and then you live with those responses for so long, years, maybe decades, and from that, you start to think that it's just who you are. You think you're naturally anxious, or you're just a people pleaser, or you've always been this way, so that's just who you are. But it's not. It's trauma. And when you start to heal, when you start to understand what's actually a survival response versus what's authentically you, everything can shift for you. Your sense of self will change. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Common trauma responses that get mistaken for personality traits. How to tell the difference between them, and how to tell and what happens when you start to untangle them. All right. So, of course, I like to start with a little bit of understanding, a little bit of education, a little bit of where did this come from. So when you develop coping strategies in childhood, they wire deeply. Anything from like birth to 5 or 6 years is what kind of creates a lot of your blueprint. So by the time you're an adult, most of your behaviors feel automatic, natural, like that's just who you are. If you learned hypervigilance at age 5, by age 25, you don't remember being any other way. Time makes trauma responses feel like personality. 30 years of people pleasing doesn't feel like survival. It feels like I'm just a nice person. People treated your trauma responses as personality traits, possibly. You're so responsible, aka you were parentified. You're such a good helper, aka you're fawning. You're so independent, aka you learned that no one would help you. You're so mature for your age, aka you had to grow up fast. When everyone tells you your survival strategy is who you are, you believe it. You think, this is my value. Especially as women, trauma responses get praised. So you keep doing them, and the more you do them, the more they feel like you. This is the scary part. If people pleasing isn't your personality, if hypervigilance isn't being aware, what would you be like if you felt safe? If perfectionism isn't your work ethic, who would you be without the fear? You've built an entire identity possibly around these responses. Questioning them feels like losing yourself. Trauma responses just simply aren't your personality. They're adaptations, they're survival strategies, what you learn to do to stay safe in environments that weren't safe. Underneath them is your actual self, the person you were before trauma taught you to be someone else. Okay, so how about going through particular trauma responses that get mistaken for personality? First up, the first one I like to talk about is people pleasing. Mistaken for being nice or caring about others. What this actually is, like I said just a second ago, it's fawning. It's a fawn response. You learn that keeping others happy kept you safe, that anticipating their needs and meeting them before they ask prevented harm, anger, or abandonment. I'm just a people person. I care about making others happy. I'm naturally empathetic and giving. So what's the difference between people-pleasing as a trauma response and people-pleasing because you actually care? It's part of your personality. So people-pleasing in a trauma response, you do it even when you don't want to. You can't say no without intense anxiety or guilt. You neglect your own needs to meet others. You feel responsible for other people's emotions. You panic if someone is upset with you. You'd rather harm yourself than disappoint someone. And harm yourself, I mean like not taking care of yourself, not like physical self-harm. I'm talking about like ignoring your needs, minimizing your needs, silencing your voice, just so you don't disappoint someone or upset someone. So when you actually care and it's part of your personality, you want to help when you have the capacity. So it's not 100% all the time. You can say no and set boundaries without it becoming a crisis, without feeling heavy guilt, without it being hard to maintain. You care for others and you care for yourself. You recognize others are responsible for their own emotions. You can tolerate someone being upset with you. You give from overflow, not from depletion. So what healing looks like for a people pleaser is learning that you can care about people and have boundaries. That saying no doesn't make you selfish. That taking care of yourself isn't betraying others. When it comes to people pleasing, if you fit the mark of the trauma response, I'm going to put in the show notes a link to an episode I just did recently about what it's like being nice versus being kind, and why nice is killing you. It might be a helpful place to start with people pleasing. Number 2, what about hypervigilance? I'm being aware. I'm very responsible. I just always want to know what's going on. I scan it all. It's constant threat scanning is what it really is. Your nervous system never feels safe, so you're always monitoring, predicting, preparing for danger. I'm just observant. I notice things other people miss. I'm responsible and prepared. I'm just a planner. Talk about planning, in control. I just like to be in control. I know I can do it better. So what's the difference? Trauma versus personality. Hypervigilance as a trauma response, you can't turn it off. You're scanning, you're watching all the time. You're exhausted from constant monitoring. You notice threats that aren't actually there. You can't relax even in safe situations. You're always preparing for worst case scenarios. Your body is tense even when nothing is wrong. Okay, that was the trauma response of hypervigilance. The personality trait of being observant would look something like this. You notice things when you're engaged. You can choose when to pay attention. So there's a switch that you can turn off and on. You're not constantly on alert. Everywhere you go, everywhere you're at, scanning, looking, observing, watching. You can relax when safe. So if it's your day off, if it's your free time, if your to-do list is done or not done, but you're resting, you can rest without guilt. You prepare reasonably, not catastrophically. So you're not doing it because the worst case scenario thing's about to happen. You're doing it because grandma likes no salt on her potatoes. We're not going to make it all perfect so that grandma doesn't get upset. Do you see the difference? And your body can rest. That goes back to being able to relax. Your shoulders can untense. Your jaws can loosen up. Like you're not on hyper alert. So for healing hypervigilance, you need to learn that you can relax, that safety is possible, that you don't have to monitor everything all the time to survive. I'm pretty sure I have an episode about this, maybe being in survival mode. And I will also put that in the show notes, not to like toot my own horn or like sell my shit, but like if you need a deeper dive, I will definitely put something in the show notes. Number 3, perfectionism. Mistaken for high standards, a high work ethic. I'm detail oriented. I care about doing things well. I'm driven and ambitious. But what it actually is, it's a belief that you have to be perfect to be safe, loved, or valued. That mistakes, anything that's not perfect, mean rejection, punishment, or abandonment. Sorry, I had to take a sip. So, what does perfectionism look like as a trauma response? Mistakes feel catastrophic, like the end of the world, like you're the worst person, that you're the most embarrassed, you can't tell anyone, you got to hide it, you got to fix it. Maybe you procrastinate because you can't do it perfectly, or you can't do it at all. Your worth may be tied to your performance. So if you get good accolades at work, you're fine. If someone gives you a compliment, you're fine. But if you don't get those, or if you get constructive feedback or a negative review, you're not fine. You're not worthy. You're not a good human. You're a piece of shit. Maybe you can't accept compliments because you see all the flaws. Oof. I think a lot can be said there, but that's heavy enough in and of itself. Maybe you're never satisfied. Nothing is ever good enough. You reach a goal and it's like, that's it? Nothing else? What am I going to do next? You'd rather not try than fail. So it goes back to the all or nothing. If you can't do it perfectly, you can't do it at all. So what if it's just a personality trait and you have high standards? This is what it'll look like. You want to do things well, but make mistakes, and that's okay. You start even when you don't know how it will turn out. Your worth is separate from your performance. You can receive praise and enjoy your accomplishments. You can be satisfied with good enough. You can try new things and learn from failure. So, what does healing look like when it comes to perfectionism? Learning that you're valuable even when you're imperfect. Because guess what, sis? We all are perfectly imperfect. So, learning that mistakes don't mean you're worthless. That good enough is actually good enough. What about independence? Number 4, mistaken for self-sufficient and strong. I'm just independent. I like doing things myself. I don't need anyone. I'm strong and self-sufficient. You learned that no one would help you, that asking for help led to disappointment, rejection, or punishment, that you could only count on who? Yes, you. So what does that look like? Traumatic versus personality. So traumatized independence. You can't ask for help even when you need it. And I mean calling the doctor if something's going wrong, making an appointment for yourself, all the way to asking your partner to help you take on some of the struggles, some of the responsibility, maybe asking your mom to help you out, to just be a lending voice. I don't know. Whatever it is that you need, you can't ask for it. Maybe you accepting help feels terrifying or shameful. So if you were to take the help, you'd be so embarrassed. You'd feel so ashamed, so scared that they would find out that, oh my God, you're not perfect. Maybe you do everything alone, even when it's exhausting. Maybe you feel weak if you need support. Maybe you isolate because connection feels dangerous or unsafe. You'd rather suffer than burden someone because you see your struggles as a burden to anyone else when you would never feel that about anybody else if they came to you. But somehow you're the exception to the rule and you are an absolute burden. So what does healthy independence look like? You can do things yourself and ask for help when needed. You can accept that help without shame. You recognize interdependence is human. Needing support doesn't threaten your sense of self. You can be alone and you can be with others. And you ask for help when it makes sense. So healing the hyperindependence, the independence, you need to learn that asking for help doesn't make you weak, that needing others is a human trait, that interdependence is actually healthier than total independence. What about next one up? Number 5, being low maintenance or easygoing. I'm just chill and flexible. I'm not picky. I go with the flow. You learned your needs don't matter, that expressing wants or preferences led to conflict, guilt, or being told you're difficult. So you made yourself small, easy, and accommodating. Still, what's the difference? Trauma versus personality. Fawning, self-abandonment, the trauma response. You don't know what you want because you never ask yourself. You say you don't care, but you do. You just suppress it. You always defer to others. You feel anxious if you express a preference. You make yourself small to avoid conflict. You accommodate even when it hurts you. As a personality trait, you genuinely don't have strong preferences about some things. When you do care, you can express it. You're flexible when it doesn't matter, firm when it does. You can state your preferences without becoming anxious. You can disagree without going into panic mode. And you accommodate when you want to, not from fear. So healing from the fawning, from the chill girl, just go with the flow vibe, is to learn you are allowed to have preferences, that expressing wants doesn't make you difficult, that taking up space is freaking allowed. What about number 6? Being mature for your age or overly responsible. I've always been mature. I'm just responsible. I've always been the one people count on. I'm a natural caretaker. You were parentified. You had to grow up too fast. You took care of adults or siblings when you should have been cared for. So what's the difference? Traumatically speaking, it's called parentification. And if this is your response, this is what it looks like. You couldn't be a child. You feel responsible for everyone. You can't let others take care of you. Rest feels irresponsible. You feel guilty when you're not productive. You parent, your parents are partners. What actual responsible personality looks like. You follow through on commitments. You're reliable when you have capacity. You can let others care for you. Rest doesn't feel like you're failing. You can be playful and immature sometimes. And you have age-appropriate relationships. So what does healing look like? Learning you don't have to carry everyone, that you can be cared for, that rest is productive, and that you can also be playful. Last, I think I've got 2 more. Where's my list? 2 more. Yeah. Number 7, emotional numbness or detachment. Not emotional, very logical. You learned emotions weren't safe, that expressing feelings led to punishment, mockery, or being told you're too much. So you shut them down. I'm just not an emotional person. I'm logical. I don't really feel things strongly. I'm stoic. So as a trauma response, you've shut down your emotions to survive. You can't access feelings even when you want to. You feel numb, disconnected, flat. Emotions feel dangerous. You panic if feelings start to surface. You use logic to avoid emotion. So, what is an actual less emotional personality? You experience emotions at a moderate level naturally. You can access feelings when you want to. You feel connected to yourself. Emotions don't feel threatening. You can feel without being overwhelmed. And you can use logic and emotion appropriately. So healing looks like learning emotions are safe, that feelings won't destroy you, that you can feel and still be okay. Taking a sip. So last one, number 8. Always being busy or productive, driven, ambitious. I like to be productive. I get bored if I'm not busy. I'm a go-getter. You learned your worth comes from what you do, not who you are. That rest means you're lazy. That slowing down means facing what you're avoiding. So, compulsive productivity as a trauma response. You can't rest without guilt. Busyness is your version of avoidance. Think about if there is a hard topic, do you start cleaning? Do you suppress what's going on and then just channel it into cleaning or exercising or anything? That's busyness as avoidance. Your worth is tied to your output. Slowing down feels terrifying. You're productive but exhausted. You use work to avoid feelings. You use activities and tasks to avoid feelings. What does an actual driven personality look like? You pursue goals because they excite you. You can rest without guilt. Your worth is separate from your productivity. Slowing down feels good sometimes. You're energized by your work. You can feel your feelings and still work. So to heal this, you need to learn you're valuable even when you're not producing. That rest is necessary. That being is as important as doing, if not more important. So how do you actually tell the difference? Can you turn it off? If you can't turn it off, it's a trauma response. If you can, it's a personality trait. Does it cost you? If it's exhausting or depleting you, then it's a trauma response. If that's a no, then it's a personality trait. Can you imagine yourself without this? No, and that's scary. Who am I if I'm not this? That's a trauma response. If you can't imagine yourself different and doesn't feel like losing yourself, that's a personality trait. Does it serve you now? Maybe it once served you. Maybe it kept you safe in an unsafe environment, but now it's limiting, harming, and keeping you small. And what would I be this way if I'd felt safe? If you'd grown up in a safe, supportive, understanding environment, would you still be hypervigilant, people-pleasy, needing to be perfect? Probably not. Those are trauma responses, not personality traits. So when you start untangling this, you might have what's considered an identity crisis. If I'm not a people pleaser, who am I? If I'm not a perfectionist at my work, am I lazy? You've built a whole identity. So guess what comes up? You get to grieve all the years you spent performing instead of being, the relationships you built where you were pretending. And then there's fear. What if people don't like me? What if I'm less valuable? What if I can't function without who I used to be? This is real fear. But staying small to keep others comfortable is not living. It's simply not. And then you'll get relief because you're underneath all this, there's relief. You don't have to keep performing. You don't have to keep being hypervigilant, perfect, or people-pleasy. You can just be. And then you have discovery, where you get to discover who you actually are. Maybe you're not actually that easygoing. Maybe you have preferences, opinions, and needs. Maybe you're not actually that responsible. You're reliable for yourself, but you're not everyone else's parent. This is discovery. This is meeting yourself for the first time. And then once that happens, then the integration. Eventually you integrate. You keep some traits because they are you. You are caring, just not at your own expense. And you release some traits because they were only survival, meaning you're not responsible for everyone's emotions. You become a more complete version of yourself, not perfect, not healed in some final way, just more you. So how do you actually untangle this? Step 1, go through the list. Identify which personality traits are actually survival responses. You might have already done that listening to my criteria. Step 2, grieve that. Let yourself feel the loss. You've spent years, maybe even decades, performing these responses. You've built relationships and made life decisions based on these responses. That is heavy grief. Please honor that. Be angry, be mad, be sad, be depressed, bargain, accept all the stages of grief. Step 3, I want you to experiment with doing the opposite. This is a scary but necessary step. If you people please, say no once to see what happens. If you're hypervigilant, rest for 10 minutes without checking anything. Notice what comes up. If you're perfect, do something imperfectly on purpose and sit with the discomfort. Please spill a glass at a restaurant. That's a fun one. It's a fun activity. Start small and build the muscle. And then notice who you are without the trauma response. This is discovery. This is meeting yourself. When you're not being perfect, what do you enjoy doing just for the sake of it? How do you naturally move through the world if you're not being hypervigilant? If you're not performing or people-pleasing, what do you actually want? And step 5, expect pushback from yourself and others. Your nervous system will resist unfamiliar safety. It learned these responses to keep you safe, and changing them will feel dangerous, even if you're changing for the good. And other people resist because they like the version of you that took care, that never needed, that people pleased. Expect pushback, use it as information that you're on the right track, and keep fucking going anyway. It's hard. Cry in a closet, cry in a bathroom, scream into a pillow, but keep fucking doing it. Step 6, you can't do this alone, my dears. Find support, join communities, get a trauma-informed therapist, get a life coach, and be patient with yourself. First and foremost, this won't happen overnight. You've had these responses deeply wired in you. Healing and unlearning and discovering is slow. So that's trauma responses as personality traits. The survival strategies you've been living with so long you thought that You've been living with these for so long that you thought they were just who you are, but they're not. They're what you learn to do to stay safe. And underneath them is your actual self, the person you were before you began to stay safe, to survive. The person you're becoming is a healed version. Untangling that to get to that version is hard. It's an identity crisis, it's grief, it's scary. But on the other side of this is freedom. The freedom to be yourself, to live authentically, to stop performing and start existing on your terms. You don't have to keep being who trauma made you. You can discover who you actually are. And I promise you, the real you is worth fucking meeting. The world needs the real you. This episode pairs with the late diagnosis series because so much of late diagnosis is untangling. What's neurodivergence? What's trauma? What's actually me? And as you do that work, you'll discover that some of what you thought was personality was actually survival. And that's all okay. You're allowed to grieve that. You're allowed to be angry about it. And you're allowed to start becoming who you actually are. Maybe, just maybe, start questioning which parts of your personality are actually just armor you can finally take off. I'd love to hear from you. Got a question? Please message me. Want to help more women hear this episode and support me by helping my podcast grow? Hit the heart, hit the thumbs up, leave an emoji comment of just a heart, leave a review. This helps me show up in searches. This helps other women know that they're not alone and helps me just fulfill my purpose of helping people live life on their terms without feeling traumatized day in and day out. I want you to feel free in your mind, body, soul, environment, career, relationships. I want you to live this life to the fullest, and I am here to help that. So through this podcast, through my private work, that is my goal. I feel it is my life's purpose. So if you want to work with me, if you're in Texas, I offer private practice therapy to help you along your healing journey. I use evidence-based therapy, CPT, DBT. I also offer life coaching programs for women nationwide that include the Unmasking for Late Diagnosed Women and Somatic Healing, which is designed to complement your existing talk therapy. I would love to get in more with you, to talk to you about it, or just to see what I can do to help if we're a good fit. So if you're curious, fill out the consultation form in the show notes at the Linktree website. But until next time, my dears, I want you to know that you are never too much, never too late, and you don't have to figure it out all alone. I will be right here every Wednesday and Friday. May you be happy and free. May our healing ripple outward to bless the world with happiness and freedom. Take care of your awakened heart, and I'll see you soon.